Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Legal Legends Podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Shomot, Vice President of Strategic Partnership for Synergy and founder of Legal Legends Podcast. Today, I bring to you another legal legend. He is a legend, no doubt, a master of law, an expert in the real estate industry, an expert in the injury law industry. This man is an expert everywhere. Usually people say you're a jack of all trades and master of none, but nah. I got a master of all of them because he is successful in everything that he touches. You see this ring? You see this ring? He can make this ring, and it's not gold, but he can turn this into gold. I'm telling you. I got Ariel Saban, co-founder and owner of Saban and Solomon. You may recognize the name. I had Rob Solomon, his partner, a couple weeks back, but now I have the man, the myth, the legend, Ariel Saban. Welcome aboard, sir.
Man, you make me feel great. You make me feel great. I am I'm first very grateful for you having me on. You know what? I don't call myself a legend. I don't call myself anything. I'm a simple guy, a father, and I got lucky, you know, finding a partner like Rob and to start this journey together with. And it's been incredible. And I get to meet incredible humans like you and add you to my life. And it's been a fun journey.
I appreciate it, Ariel. Thank you for jumping on today. I know you have a busy schedule. We were just talking about the Miami Heat and how I despise everything, Pat Riley. Um, I am a Heat season ticket holder. You are as well. I cannot stomach this version of the Dion Waiters, Goran Dragic, James Johnson, Miami Heat. We traded Jimmy Butler for a bag of Skittles and some M&Ms. And now the Miami Heat simpleton fans are jumping on board a trade for a backup point guard off the third worst team in the Eastern Conference and acting like he's going to be the star that saves the Miami Heat. I just don't get it.
I
It
hope
makes my
let's
stomach
see. You
turn.
know what? Let's see if we can pull a rabbit out of a hat. I mean, we have before, and it's happened. So let's see if there's something larger behind that's you know we're hoping for.
Well, the trade deadline's over already, man. So we're
I
stuck
know
with this
with
direct
this year.
for this year.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
I just emotionally, I'm a humongous Jimmy Butler fan. I know he did some stupid stuff at the end. I think he got a little bit babyish, but I think Pat Riley started
But
this whole
listen, it's
damn
tough.
thing.
Listen, it's he's no different than working for any organization.
Hmm.
He's the top key player in the of the organization, and sometimes if you feel that you're not treated well or you're disrespected, sometimes you react a certain way. I would have liked to see him because I still have really high regards for him. I would have liked to see him handle it differently. Um, I think I think he's shown, when he came to the Heat, right? Everyone talked about how difficult he was and this, and when he came, he was incredible and awesome. And
Hmm.
I would have loved to see, even if he's exiting the same way that he's always been there. What they say, when they go low, go high, don't go low with them, So, but it's part of life, it's emotions, it's life. So it's tough, but we'll see what
I,
happens with
I,
us.
I'm emotionally exhausted. I've been posting all kinds of reels on Instagram from my sports podcast, and I mean, I got 5 Jimmy Butler jerseys for Christ's sakes, and I just ordered one for Golden State because I've been a Jimmy Butler fan before he got here.
He's
I just
amazing.
love his story, and I think people who don't understand,
Great story.
all people see is this guy makes $48 million. Shut up and play. But that's not how
Well,
it works in
let me
this
tell you
man's
something.
brain. This man's brain doesn't like when you're really, really wealthy, you're still fighting for your dollars, right?
Yeah, no, not even that. But he's listen, and obviously we're in law stuff, but it goes to everything, right? Like what his story is, how he was, always counted out, and he still was one of the top players out there, and what he's done on the court, off the he's been he's somebody that you look at and you're like, you know what, this is someone I would like, you know, kids to look after and emulate. And that's why I was a little shocked how the ending happened, but it's life, right? We're emotional. Things happen in our lives that you have emotional reactions. And part of it is to not. That's why even in law, right? You have a lawyer, you have somebody who represents you. You don't go out there and talk and scream and this and that. And it's not just about the legal procedures. It's about your heart and your brain sometimes don't go together. And you don't want your heart speaking certain ways. You want your brain communicating. So, so it's the same way, like it's tough and especially when you're seeing certain statements or actions in a vacuum, you see certain one offs. It's easy
Hmm.
to criticize somebody, but yeah, but let's
I
see.
mean, you were here when LeBron left, and I don't think the people here had this reaction when LeBron left, and he gave us 3 seconds notice
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
point where then Dwayne Wade got screwed out of money, and they chose
Yeah.
Chris Bosh over Dwayne Wade. And another example of Pat Riley telling his stars to go fly a kite, and then did it again to Dwayne Wade twice more till Dwayne Wade picks up and leaves. And
It's
now it's like it's just a nonstop circle with when it comes to star players in South
listen.
Florida, the
Look at
Miami Heat.
Luca, right? Look at Luca. Like,
Oh
you know,
my
you have
God.
you have
That's
somebody
crazy.
who's incredible, and not just that has changed the city. Has
Mhm.
donated his time and children's hall, every single thing. And then but that's the industry. Unfortunately, industries have lost we've lost the times where people used to work at a job and they work 30, 40, 50 years and they retire there. We've lost that. We've lost that where somebody gets a better opportunity and then they've left without even
Mhm.
discussing with with their organization. I like to believe, and again, I'm biased because I'm talking about ourselves. I think the culture we try to do at our firm is, I try to
Mhm.
respect everyone, and I try to make sure that everyone's heard, and and everyone can personally grow because
Mhm.
it's not just about the organization growing; it's individuals growing because everyone needs to be, moving forward, and that's just fair. That's just life. Um, and if you see things that way, I think you'll be successful. Obviously, you need to have cases. You need to do good. My whole shtick is just do good. Do the right thing. It may not serve a proper result this one time or two times or three times, but in the long run, you're gonna win. You're gonna win. You're gonna do great, and you're gonna build a really strong organization. And I think that's why we have people here that have stayed. I've had my first assistant. I think it's my first assistant ended up being a lawyer in my office later on. And
Which
so
one which one was that?
Liza,
Okay.
and look, I mean, I had a lawyer in my office, Rose, who's still, if you visit my website, she's still on
Yeah.
there. And, you know, unfortunately, she passed away from cancer, and she served our country, and we were there every step of the way with her. And that's
Mhm.
what I think I tried to do is that I got to be there for my team. They're there for me, and it's a partnership. And
Mhm.
so I think that's what allowed us to grow to wherever we are today, or at least have the positive reputation that we have. And that's what I hope to keep as long as I can, keep this business going.
So let's talk about Ariel's story.
Yeah.
I mean, your hair's even done today for me. I appreciate that,
Yeah.
man.
For you, it's falling and I look at myself, I'm getting whiter and whiter by the minute. It's like the apps that change your face to look how you're going to look when you're older.
Well, folks, just so you know, whenever I go visit Ariel's office, I seem like I catch him like in his Christopher Lloyd Back to the Future, as if the electricity just hit him and it's everywhere, and he's going all over the place. But it's beautiful now. I'm like, man, I feel honored.
And I love when you stop by.
So you grew up in Miami Beach. You went to Hebrew Academy. I don't know where you went to elementary school. Was that
So I'll
Hebrew
give you, I'll give
Academy
you, I'll
as
give you my
well?
whole, I'll give you my whole. So I was actually born and raised in Plantation, but
Okay.
um, I came, I've been raised, and I say continuously raised because my parents still every single day raise
Continuously.
me. Um, I've had two amazing, incredible parents that have guided me every step of the way, and gave me an opportunity that I would never be anywhere without them. So that's, number one what I have, and um, like you said, I went to Jewish school growing up. I went to Hillel growing up, and I have a big faith and belief in God, no matter what religion it is. But I just, believe in the principles. Just be good and do good and help, and not everyone's on the top all the time. And so, if you have the opportunity to help somebody who's not on the top, maybe one day if you're in that position on the other side, they're there, for you. And I went to University of Miami.
You weren't
Uh,
in Miami Beach at any point? I thought you lived in Miami
so,
Beach
so
for
I,
a
so
point.
I've listen. I've had, I've my friends and my family. We've been, the Jewish, um, you know, society is so it basically Aventura, Miami Beach, a little bit Fort Lauderdale and Plantation, but yeah, I mean, and as a kid, I went to Jewish school, and I always was taught like education, education, education. That's number one. That's your foundation of life. Do well in school, be a good person, be a good kid. I went to University of Miami. Um, while I was there, not that I'm some Doogie Howser because I'm not, but I graduated in 3 years, and I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and I didn't even think about law, but um, falling back on my parents, at first I was going to go into the world of finance. And they were like, I really would like to see you get a secondary education on top of it. And I was reluctant at first. And I said, what do I want to do? And a lot of the MBA programs, a lot of these programs required real life experience, which I didn't have. Um, and, I said, I'm going to go sit for the LSAT. I sat for it. And, I got into Nova, Hofstra, which is in Hempstead. I got denied from University of Florida, and I forget if I got denied or waitlisted at University of Miami. I forget exactly, but I went to Nova, and that was the best decision of my life. But and every part of my life, like I've tried to build myself around great people, and I went to school there, and I've made incredible friends and people in my class who've done amazing things, and I met Rob there, and really Rob is my first wife. We've been together now. We've been together now. I don't know. We graduated in 2006, I think it is, or 2007. Yeah, 2006, and you know we studied for the bar together, and I kudos to him because he's the reason why I passed the bar. He was 6 in the morning. We're at the library. We stop for lunch. Back in the library. After 5, we go to the gym. Back in the library, and we're done at midnight, or go home, rest, repeat. And honestly, it was. And when I saw that in him, I'm like, this is a disciplined man. That I didn't even think about partnership. I just thought this is. I love to see that because I like to see successful people or people that are going to be successful because of how they're organized, disciplined, and they have a goal. And in his mind was there's no option for failure. He had nothing to fall back on. He was a son of a mailman and a hairdresser, and he's like, I'm gonna be in a ton of debt if I don't pass. And I just followed his lead. And after that, I went. I worked at the prosecutor's office, which was an amazing experience. I think day one or so, I was in trial. I had no idea about trial. I had no idea what's supposed to happen. It was actually a battery against a law enforcement officer, and the victim, the police officer, wasn't even there. So I'm like, how can I go to trial without a victim? I can't prove my case. And they're like, well, here's the file, go. Needless to say, I lost that case. But
Where
it
was
taught
the cop? Where was the cop?
he was retired. I think he was like in North Carolina. He's like, no, he's like, it's fine, no problem. And but you know what? It taught me everything. It really it was the experience that I needed. Here's a file. Learn the file 60 seconds before you're about to try this case, before you're about to go in front of a judge, before you're about to go in front of a jury and present this case. And don't freeze up because that's what the number one thing people are afraid of is public speaking, right?
Yes.
afraid of, and it that doesn't mean that I'm not scared when I go in front of, a jury, or I'm not scared talking in front of people. Of course, everyone's nervous. That shows us we're alive, right? But are you going to freeze up at the moment, or are you going to actually, become successful? And that taught me so much, and I loved it, and it really gave me the ability to learn how to, when you're in front of a jury, and you're talking to a witness, you don't know what they're going to say. You don't know what the response. You think you know what they're going to say, but it's going to take you down a total different path, and you need to be ready for that. There's no bullet. There's no, teleprompter in front of you giving a speech.
Yeah.
So
I just finished serving jury duty for a murder one case in Broward County, and I ended up being the alternate after sitting there for 3 weeks, 3 days of voir dire, 3 days on week two, and then 2 more days the final week, and then being told after all the instructions,
bye bye.
you stay and you stay, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm an alternate, and it was in the newspaper, and I am actually going to do a podcast for this for Legal Legends on education. Even if you think you know what juries are thinking, but you have absolutely no idea.
zero.
And it's like I spoke with both sides after when I'm sitting outside, and they asked me my thoughts, and I will, and I mean, if I had been on that jury, the jury would have been hung. They
Let me tell you
convicted this.
something.
They
Let me
convicted him in 25 minutes.
let me tell you something.
And go ahead.
No, no, no. Continue.
No, they convicted him in 25 minutes of first degree murder in what I thought was like so much reasonable doubt, which is probably also why you don't want lawyers on juries, and you don't want people that are in legal on juries, because you think way differently than a normal person does, because the LSAT trains you and law school trains you and all the for just a different thought process. And even working in law firms and working with attorneys, my dad being an attorney, judge, all that stuff, you think differently. And I think a lot of individuals and just people in general, most people don't want to be there. I wanted to be there. I was
Oh,
excited about
by the
being there.
way, by the way, let me tell you this. When I started my practice, and I heard people have jury consultants, and I
Hmm.
heard people do, mock jury trials, right, with real jurors, and listen to it. I was like, "What are you talking about?" But I wasn't experienced then. I
Hmm.
didn't see trials that I should have lost and I won, or I should have won and I lost. And I
Hmm.
didn't realize that because, at the moment when you're picking a jury, you're given the questionnaires that the judge asks. You know what their job is. Are they married? Have they had any crimes or family? You have certain things, but you don't know what's going on in their mind. You think you know, and
Hmm.
sometimes what's being let out is actually a facade to what's really, what really the person, I don't know if it's believes, but what actually might be in reality happening once they're in the jury room. And it's really, really important for us also. We do mock jury trials.
Hmm.
Huge cases of ours, we do those. I want to learn what jurors are thinking. I want to know. To me, I'm an analytics person. You know, some people are go by the seat of their pants, right? I don't do that. I take cases seriously. I'm strategic. This is a real battle that you're going in, and you're going in a battle for your client's life,
Hmm.
and you need to be really prepared. You can't just think you're prepared. You have to be prepared. You have to know that every single thing that's going to come your way, you're ready for.
Hmm.
And that is so important. That's a reason. It's a reason why our law firm litigates for a lot of firms,
Hmm.
because we have that, and there's nothing special about it, right? It's a formula that everyone knows to do. It's, are you willing to do that? And
So what do how do you do these mock jury trials in your office? And are do these people, how do you select them? Because I can tell you, having gone through this, and I'm going to do videos on both sides for people that are regular people and even for lawyers, that end of the day, it is. One of the lawyers told me at the end, she said, it's like picking people out of 12 random people out of a Publix. And I agree, but I also think that I think that you would want more if your defense in criminal, you would want more highly educated people
Correct.
who rather than people that don't seem to have
Well, that's
the
what's
education. Like we had
that's
a
jury
juror,
selection, right? That's on the
we had
lawyers.
well, we had a juror who was homeschooled and didn't know if he graduated from high school.
Well, remember,
I mean,
every lawyer is different,
yeah.
and who they pick, how with their jury selection, their process is different.
Hmm.
Um, to your question about mock juries,
Yeah.
they're extremely expensive. There are
Okay,
major
you pay for them.
companies. Oh
Okay.
yeah, you pay for them.
I don't know. I have no idea. I
Oh,
don't know if
it's
you call
big.
people
It's
up and look in the
oh no 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 no
phone
no.
book
It's
or
big.
something.
It's big money.
Yeah.
Um, you watch the juries deliberate, and the way
Okay.
and that's the best part about it. It's not a final result that you're looking for. You want to know how they're thinking. And guess what? It's not one group of
It's
people. You have
yeah.
multiple. So you can have different juries hearing at the same time, and then you can listen in to different parts.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
you want to learn their thought process. How do they get to that result? You know why you want to learn that? Because that can change your entire theory of your case. And it just did on a monster case of ours. Switched our
Okay.
entire theory. And
Wow.
you need to be humble enough to know that you're not right every time, right? You don't know everything. I don't know how to present every case to a jury, you
Mhm.
know? And this shows you that. And it
Okay.
allows you to have the data to change your position to then present it. And another thing that we do in our office, which is very different, is look, we all come from different backgrounds and we all show each other the cases and talk about the cases. And somebody might say, hey, Ariel, you're not going to get a good result with this case. Or, hey, Ariel, you're going to get better than you think you're going to get in this case. And when we pull all that small data together, we're able to have a starting point. And so I think one of the most important things you can have is a lawyer or law firm that's willing to put the time in.
Mhm.
Remember when Justin Bieber got a DUI and he hired, I think it was Roy Black and Howard Shrebnick.
It
And
was
I
on
think,
Pine Tree Drive.
yeah. So I think
Yeah.
he paid, I think it was like, who knows, but maybe $250,000 for it. And you
For a
can go to
DUI.
the ticket clinic and pay $500, right? I'm just inventing numbers right now. I'm just
Yeah,
pretending that.
yeah, yeah. Of
And
course.
people are like, I don't understand the difference between paying somebody $500 to 250. And what you're paying for is time. The ability for a lawyer to focus on your case. What's the difference between a public defender and a private lawyer, right? Public defender has a lot of cases. It's not that they're bad lawyers or not. They're extremely educated. Some of them are incredible lawyers. But if
Yeah.
you have only a allotted amount of time to put on a case, you can't do certain things. So my whole thing is we try to take in as much as we can that we're still able to give the time and the attention to. And that's really important. And that if you have a process in place and you have time, you're going to win. And that's what the defense does not have. The
Mhm.
defense in personal injury does not have that time because they're either paid a certain amount, it could be a fixed amount, it could be the budgeted amount, and that's where you have your ability to win. And if you can do that, your chances of beating the edge is higher every single time.
What did you take from being in the prosecutor's office for a couple of years to in trial work to the personal injury space? And it's obviously one's criminal, one's civil, so it's different in that regard. But what would you say are the things that you took from there that you have actually been able to apply here?
I think it's strengthened my ideology of respect. You know, you see as a prosecutor thousands and thousands of I mean, I don't know the number, but you see a lot of lawyers, and you see lawyers, and they present their cases, and sometimes, you may have, the great case, and
Mm.
and they may not have the greatest case or position, but you have to respect everyone and listen to people and listen to what they want to present to you, and not just shut off and not just not accept. You know, so to me, it was really it it, it really enhanced respect all sides, and that really helped in what I'm doing here, because you can be in a hearing every single day for some nonsense. And if you just picked up the phone to the other side, or they picked up the phone to you and said, "Hey, can we talk about this so we don't need a judge listening to a hearing that's not necessary and just wasting time and wasting energy?" And I don't think that's done enough. I
Mhm.
think pick up the phone and resolve a case. Hey, where are you? When I do mediations, I understand the other side has a job. I understand they're going to have a different position than I have. But if we respect each other's positions and we're knowledgeable enough to respect and know, like, hey, this is where something may go, right? The probabilities, then we should resolve everything. No case should go to trial. A case goes to trial because somebody is misevaluating a case, me or the other side. And that's where the problem lies. But if we can respect each other and get on a phone and have a conversation, every single thing should be resolved. We're lawyers. I mean, we're people. Respect each other. We can have differences. You don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with
Mm.
you. But let's just respect each other. And I think that really taught me that. And I saw that. And I really wanted to make sure that I pushed that in. The other thing it really taught me is really to think on my toes. You come into a calendar call with 50, 60, 100 cases, whatever number it is. You don't
Yeah.
know every case, but you're going to be asked certain things. And you go in front of certain judges, those judges are going to ask you questions all above and beyond that file. And you better know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
So listen, this job is not rocket science. It just isn't. It's being good to people, hearing people, understanding people, and being able to be, a voice for somebody. There was sorry to be long winded, but
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
there was a number two at the state attorney's office, and I forgot his name right now. And I would watch him in trial, and it was unbelievable how he was just calm, and he spoke to a jury in just simplistic, but very enlightening and descriptive words. And it was just awesome. And I saw that and I'm like, that's a great lawyer. I'm not saying he wins every time, but that's somebody who's going to give you the best odds of winning. And there was a Rob was in trial, and I thought this was the best jury question I ever heard in my whole life. A jury asked the judge to ask the lawyers a question. And you know what the question was?
What?
Can we pay the plaintiff's lawyer separately? Because they loved how much and how great Rob presented the case, that
Wow.
they wanted to directly make sure that he was compensated. It was unbelievable. I never seen that ever in my whole
Wow.
life. Um,
Wow.
and to me, that's just, and it's not to talk about pound my chest, how, because there's nothing great about us, but it's, if you can just relay a message for your client, that's just, that's what you're there for. And I hope, and like, that's the most, and especially in a criminal setting, or when you're dealing with a personal injury setting, when you're talking about people that either lost their lives, lost their limbs, lost their loved ones, lost something, this is their life. They lose this case, potentially their lives are over. And that's a big burden that you have on yourself as a lawyer. So, you know, to me, I don't take that lightly. I take that seriously, and I hope my clients see that. And the time where I don't have that ability to see that seriously is the time I don't practice anymore.
Do you when you're in these negotiations and conversations with defense attorneys, do you find yourself ever thinking they're really doing this because they're getting their check and they have to have that position?
Yeah, I mean,
Because
listen,
because if they got into a car accident or had a serious situation, because with the mass tort thing that happened last year, or it's been a year and a half now. It seems like it's gone by really fast. Last spring, I think it was, right. And then there was a person in Indiana, I guess, who was a big proponent for stuff like that in Indiana years and years ago, pushing the same thing. And then he ended up being a victim of his own thing,
correct,
and writing a book about it or
correct,
something, and how
correct.
he helped create horrible laws that helped destroy his life pretty
Right.
much. And do you ever think that, they can't possibly think that this is a good offer? Because if they were the one in that accident, they'd be sitting there screaming at themselves, saying, but
Yeah,
that's their
listen,
job, so they have no choice.
you're right. Listen, first of all, I've been lucky that a majority of the people that I deal with on the other side have been great.
Mhm.
Yes, they have a job to do. I did represent a young girl on a sexual assault case that the response that I got back, you know, puzzled maybe it's not even the word. I don't even know what the word is, but I just couldn't believe the response. But yeah, it's really, really sometimes disheartening when you hear some responses that really are confusing. And to me, you know what the best response is a victory. And I think
Mhm.
that instead, I think what they don't realize is that they think that they're doing the client justice, right? They're working hard for their client because they're arguing everything. No, they're actually doing the opposite. Because instead, we then do is we strengthen our position and fight forward. And then what they could have resolved the case then, they can't resolve it now. And to me, that's just not a good way to fight for your client. So yes, do they know it? Of course they know it. Of course they know their position, that they're taking sometimes is wrong. But unfortunately, they're paid to take that position. And I think instead of listening and fighting that position, I think if they actually went back to their client and said, listen, this is why X, Y, and Z, this is what I think the better way to do it is. If they did that, I think they would be much more successful. Maybe
Mhm.
that happens. I don't know what those conversations are. And maybe they're told, hey, you still got to go forward. And unfortunately, that is what that is. But I wouldn't do that. I know a lot of people do a lot of things for money, but on, you know, my reputation matters. And I think I'm respected by the other side, not just because of the law that we do, but we're fair and we're honest and we're straight with people. And that give people opportunities. I'm not a spike the football person. And I have calls, excuse me, I have calls with lawyers on the other side and I say, listen, before I file this, I want to talk to you about it because I don't want to sandbag you with a filing and then you're like, hey, what the hell did Ariel just do? That's just not right. And I think that gives me, or if you call it street cred with the other side, that gives me respect by the other side. And I think that they don't do that to us in return. And I don't know. I just think that it's to me, it's so simplistic. I think mediation, the same thing. I mean, why can't we talk the way you and I are speaking right now? Why
Mhm.
do we need a mediator in the middle that needs to bounce between both of us to talk to us? Like it's just I don't know. To me, maybe I'm too utopian in my philosophy. I believe people are good um, until they're not good. But you know, but don't confuse niceness for weakness. That's
Mhm.
that's that's the fatal flaw
Mhm.
because you know we're super methodical, and that's the one
Mhm.
thing I tell my office. You got to be the Navy, Navy SEAL, not just Navy SEAL. You have to be the Team Six. Like I'm super. You got to be the top of the top. Like I don't want you're not just in the Army. You have to be the top, and that's important to me. And some people they don't want to. Some people they don't want that, or maybe it's not the culture for them. But to me, that's the way it's gonna. That's the way my office is, and so we got to be prepared for everything, and know what steps they're going to take and how we're going to respond to them before they ever. Reactionary does not work in my office. Never works. We're proactive, and I think that's look, I went to Nova. Rob and I went to Nova. I went to University of Miami. There's nothing. There's no Harvard. There's no Yale. There's nothing fancy about our CVs, our resumes. My jobs that I did. I worked at the Gap. I mean, I was I didn't do anything, nothing fancy, right? I didn't graduate with 100 ribbons on top of me. I wasn't top of LSAT. I wasn't top of my class. There was nothing fancy about us.
Mhm.
But what I know is I know two things. I know people and I know how to be procedural in ways. And if
Yeah.
you do those two things, nobody beats you. It just doesn't happen.
So
So
your firm is, gosh, you're coming close to 20 years, I think, something like 17, 18 years around there. Um, you met Rob and you mentioned how like on it he was. Again, you met the new and improved version of Rob from what he says, because if you had met the one 5 years earlier, you'd be like, who the hell is this guy? But looking at where your firm started, he said when I spoke to him, he says like you guys were taking on traffic tickets and stuff like
yeah,
that to where it is today. Do you ever sit back and reflect on what you two guys have accomplished? And how the firm has grown, and then on top of that, you're very involved in business outside of law, w- you know which made him the litigator, he said.
it's true.
Where did that background come from? Did that come from your father? I asked you like five questions in one, so
No, no, no,
just
no.
reflection of where the firm started to where it is today, and then of course like
Well,
how you got into those other areas.
well, I'll tell
um
you this. The thing I told you beforehand that I believe all people are good until they prove me wrong, right? Um, Something about Rob I loved. And I probably shouldn't even talk about it because it's personal life, but his mom passed that really, really difficult passing through cancer.
Yeah, he told me
And
about that.
she was an incredible human being. And so the way that I saw Rob take care of his mother, I don't think I've ever seen a human being taking care of a person like that.
Wow.
Um, Fly all over the country, um, literally anything. And to me, I was already partners with him, but
Yeah.
I looked at him and I said, this was the greatest choice I ever made. Um, and, uh, and that's number one. And I think my parents always taught me that make good decisions, you know, be feel, your energy, who's got good energy and who doesn't. And he was my first decision, number one. And, yeah, we started and, you know, when we started, I called it front door law. Anything that came in the front door, we
The
took.
door law, the door
That's
law.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we had to survive.
Yeah.
Whether it was traffic tickets, whether it was a case that five other law firms, didn't take it, um, and we had nothing to lose because nobody wanted these cases. And
Mhm.
but you know what? What we did is we took them so seriously, and we took that and turned them into mini gold, and later had opportunities, whether call it luck or put yourself in the right place to get lucky. Um, Got cases that really we then showed our showcase there of what we can do on those cases, which then changed our lives even more and even more and even more. And every year I say this when we have the Christmas holiday dinner, I look around and I see families and I see a lot of people. It grows every single time. And that pinches me because it's not Rob and I. It's not him and I, worrying about putting food on our table. Him and I need to worry about putting food on everybody's table that's in our office. And there's families and kids, and that's a big responsibility. And so every single time I look at Rob or, I look at my wife or, I talk to the firm and I'm like, the most difficult thing that there is this, is I look out every single time because when we went through COVID and they shut down litigation and there were no cases coming in, and you have to make big boy and big girl decision about what's going to happen and what you're going to do. I have to make sure that every single one of them are all right. And
Mhm.
that's a big responsibility, but I take on responsibility. Some people take on responsibility and it crushes them. Like I take on that responsibility and I feel like it just, you know, bolsters or it makes my position even stronger because I want to succeed. I want to do good for them. And so, you know, there was nothing that I was taught. Like I don't have lawyers in my family. My dad is a dentist. My mother's a hygienist. But what I did learn from them is I saw their patients love them. I saw
Mhm.
others in the community love them because they did good and they helped others, not just donating money. My parents came
You muted yourself.
Sorry, my
Yeah,
parents
you
came.
muted you muted yourself.
I mean, my parents came to this country with nothing,
Yeah.
and I saw my parents work really,
Were
really
they
hard.
both from Cuba?
No, no. So I'll give you my parents' background. My dad was born in Lebanon. My mom was born in Poland. Um, my parents' family then went to Israel, and from Israel, the family went different places. Some to Mexico, some to Canada. Everyone went different countries. My brother-in-law's family is Cuban. Like everybody went different places. My parents ended up coming here. My father obviously had to do his license here, um, but my once I was born. I was raised up in my parents' dental office,
Mhm.
and I saw my parents work really, really hard, and I appreciated money, and I didn't waste money, and I didn't, I respected every dollar they gave me, and I didn't want to ask for money because I saw how hard they were working, and my goal was not to ask for money, and so I started washing cars. I started doing any single thing I can possibly do. I would do because I wanted to generate enough money that I never needed to ask my parents for money. And so, uh, you know, those things developed me into what I am like today. And I built a team around me, and the team that I have around me, like I told you, I want to lead people, and I want to take really good care of that team. Because if I don't take good care of my team, they're gone.
Mhm.
They're gone, and you're trying to find another elite person, but who's going to stay with somebody who's not loyal, right?
Mhm.
So I try to prove loyalty to them, and because everyone goes through their own difficult things in their lives, and we're there. Um, so luckily, my team that I've had for a while, and I keep on growing that team that keeps on staying with me, and we are who we are not because of me now, and not because of Rob. It's because of all of them. I mean, I can't do the things that they do. Zero.
Mm.
I don't remember some of the things that I don't do them anymore. So I don't even know how to do them.
Yeah.
But I think that all of those things, I got lucky being born to a family that I've been born to. I was lucky of all the lessons that they taught me. I was lucky to get Rob as my partner. I was lucky to marry my wife. I was lucky to get all the people in my office. I was lucky to get people like you that help, with cases of mine that I have upside down situations that come in and make miracles. I'm lucky for a lot of synergies, no pun intended, but a lot of synergies with a lot of groups and people that I rely on because
Mhm.
I don't know everything. And so, you know, if I can continue that, I think the world is our oyster, and we're going to succeed, and we're going to do great, and we're going to do awesome. Um, but I'm not going to be an arrogant prick. I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm not going to be somebody that you're like, I just don't like that. I mean, maybe they don't like me, but I'm going to try every way to to be respectful to people. And I think that
Let me ask you a question. Your father's a dentist. Do you hate the dentist?
oh my god, I hate
I mean, you could never say, "I'm not going to the dentist."
no, 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 no. And you know what? And I'm so OCD with my dental hygiene. Um, but I hate going down like to my father was downstairs, now,
Yeah.
but I hated it. I mean, the drilling, the noise, the smell, the everything is just I hated blood. I hated seeing blood. Look, I was gonna do pre med. Like I came into University of Miami thinking I was gonna be. I was like, my dad's a physician. He was a maxillofacial surgeon. My dad is my a PhD professor in medicine. My sister's a family practice physician. I'm like, okay, I just should be in medicine. Like that's what my family's calling is, and I hated it. And then I felt like maybe I'm just a black sheep. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm not going to be successful. Maybe I'm just, and I just, and that was the interesting part. Like I had no lawyers in my family. I had nobody to ask, how do you do this? How do you do that? And that was the cool part. Like Rob and I just figured it out. And I remember one of our first cases we resolved for $10,000, and we made our 33%. And I thought we were millionaires. We looked at each other. It's like, what do we do? Like, we got to celebrate. What do we spend? Like we it was the funniest thing. And I miss those times because you just like it's like a doctor, right? You're desensitized. You know, you win a huge victory, and the next minute you're on another case.
Hmm.
You know, it's like the doctor saved somebody's life. They're on the next case right afterwards.
You
But
guys are 9 lawyers now, right? I see on your website.
I don't remember that. Wait, so it's me, it's Rob, myself, Mark, just looking around, Rich, Candy, Jamie, David, Brianna, Hannah. Um, am I missing anybody? That's nine.
No,
Yeah,
9.
I think we're not. I think we're nine, and I apologize if I missed somebody.
Yeah, and Brianna was a paralegal at your office.
Brianna, it was before that she was even assistant. She was an assistant also, and she's an incredible lawyer. And her fiance, also David, works for us, and her sister is also Crystal works for us, and her
Hmm.
cousin also works for us. Um, that's the really cool part. Is we have a father daughter, Mark and his daughter. You know, we have a mother daughter. You know, we have. Listen, you know, if I believe somebody has greatness in them, I want them here. You know, and you know, work is different. Work, you know, we have a lot of mothers here, so they have to work differently. You know, they
Hmm.
have sometimes they work remotely, sometimes this, but the work ethic that we have with our people is just strong. You know,
Hmm.
um, but it's cool. It's been a very fun ride. I can't believe it's the amount of years that it is, and it's been a fun ride, and I hope to keep it that way because it's we have one footprint that we have on this world, and try to keep it as a great one, right? Money comes and
So,
goes, but
so
that's the
what would be? We have a few minutes left. What would be 3 tips that you would give to an attorney trying to prepare for a jury? I mean, since jury selection is something you guys really focus on, and these mock juries, if you were in front of a jury, what would you tell a person who's new to it? Like, well, how would you approach jury selection
number
from
one is
from a PI space
okay.
specifically?
First, I'll tell you this. So we litigate for a lot of firms. So number one, what we did originally, we learned from somebody because it's not fair to jump into a trial, without having that experience. We ventured with another firm, and you listen, learn, open your mind. Don't be rigid in your ideas. You know, understand that you don't know everything. And be fluid, but have a game plan. It's like sports. You have to have a game plan. You know, that doesn't mean that, you're playing football and on second down, Patrick Mahomes throws an interception. They know what they think they're going to do the next play, but guess what? They got to be ready for their next defensive play if that interception happens. And they need to know what their play is going to be if it happens on the 20-yard line, the 50-yard line, the 40-yard line, or the 3-yard line. They have to
Hmm.
have plays ready to go because guess what? They have X amount of time to get lined up with the right personnel, or they're going to get a penalty, or they're going to lose.
Hmm.
And you need to be ready. That is so important because people are not ready. And you know, when you see, I like to look at a lot of other, top of the game people like Max Verstappen, Formula One. You watch him prepare. He's got he's got a device where it shows hand-eye coordination. He's grabbing things. He's getting balls thrown at him. He's got to grab it. He's got to dribble. He's got to kick. He's got to do multiple things that want to be ready for everything. You have to be ready, and you have to be ready for a person's response because guess what? One juror's response can taint the entire pool, and you need to
Hmm.
know that. You need to know that and be able to talk to a judge and tell a judge that because now you need to ask for the judge to basically bring in a whole other pool of jurors. These are things that you learn with 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 time, or be willing to. But if you're young and you're just getting into it, is just listen, learn, get formulate a proper program. And you know what? The younger generation, they're better at algorithmic stuff, and they're better at computers and technology, and and you can really be beyond prepared. Things that I never had back then. You have researching data and tools that you know every single thing about every single person,
Hmm.
and that knowledge is power. It just is. So if you have that, the first, I'll tell you this. I used to say this. when I was when I was doing criminal defense. I used to say, imagine, I was trying to tell them the presumption of innocence, because everyone doesn't have the presumption. The jury walks into a criminal case, they look everybody who's who, and everyone's getting judged. This person's the lawyer. That's a criminal. What did that person do? Automatically, they're guilty. So I compare it to this. I'm like, imagine you're cooking a you know, Christmas Day. Everyone's cooking in the house. Everyone's being loud and playing, and the TV is really low. And this was back before OJ, OJ. And I was like, you see OJ getting handcuffed and going into the back of the police car. The first thing that you say to yourself naturally is, what did OJ do? But the answer really should be, there goes an innocent guy, because you're presumed innocent. But our brain doesn't work that way. So you need to reformulate a juror's brain. And that's very, very hard. Very hard. And you have to see whether you can do that. And so if you can do that, that's great. If you can't do that, unfortunately, some people just think, let me get people that don't know what's going on up, down, left, or right. And they think that they're going to pull the wool over their eyes. And I don't think that that's the right move. I think you have to educate people, and it's like driving with your eyes closed. You ain't going to go anywhere positive. So, yeah, that's how I would approach. That's how I still approach it today.
Okay. So Ariel, we're gonna wrap this up. Where can people find you? So I'll have it all in the description. Where can people find you? I greatly appreciate all your time. Because we could do
No,
this for a while. We could do this for a
no,
while,
but
but
first, thank you. Obviously, thank you. It's been fun. It's been awesome. They can find us, Saban and Solomon, Instagram at Saban Solomon, or call us. Our number 954-577-2878, or just look us up. But listen, even if you don't have a case, like one thing, and just one last thing, I try to educate people on Instagram, like, what insurance they should have, uninsured motors. If you just have a question, call our firm.
mhm.
We don't take your case. We're not charging you. We're happy to help any way we can possibly help with anything. Knowledge is power, and my hope is we change this industry. That's an industry that people like and love, and say, oh, lawyers are great. Not lawyers are liars and bad people and this and that. So, but we're here. Anything we can possibly help the public, we're here, and we're happy to help.
I greatly appreciate it, man. I thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I got Ariel Saban, a true legal legend. He has been crushing the game. His firm is top notch. They are in plantation. He's also an expert on real estate, so maybe he can give you some tips on that as well, which we didn't even get into because that might take another hour in itself. And if you have a sandwich shop, I know in Fort Myers or Naples as well. I don't know why you don't have one here yet, but I'm waiting for that, but preferably in the Pompano Beach area near my house. Um, but I thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Ariel Saban, legal legend. I
Thank you.
appreciate you, man. We will
Thank you
see
so
you
much.
all soon. Appreciate it.